Welcome to the club! Okay, so hello everyone. This is our first episode of our book club and we're very happy that you decided to join us. So this is the show, so to say, where we are going to read and discuss, in fact, only mostly discuss the books we decided to choose, both the books in English and we discuss it in English. And let's start with the first episode. So Olga, will you tell us what book we decided to choose to read first?
So we chose to read this very book. It's called I, Robot by Isaac Asimov. And so why I decided to read this book? I have a story about this book. 15 years ago, I bought this book. Well, actually, my dad bought it for me just because I wanted to read something in English, to expose myself to the language more. But it turned out that I couldn't read it because there were so many words that I didn't know, and I was at school at that time. That's why it was really difficult for me. And in fact, I read on the 2 pages, like the 7th and the 8th one, and then I stopped because it was impossible for me to read. But I decided to buy this book because I was always interested in science fiction, and I can't say that I read a lot of books, science fiction books, but still I read some of them, and I read several books by Jules Verne. Also, I read books by Herbert Wells and Ray Bradbury. I know that Ray Bradbury didn't like being considered a science fiction writer, but he wrote some books, some science fiction books, which are very popular. That's why I think that we can still call him science fiction writer. And also I read a book by Stanislav Lem, and I also liked it. And in general, I like stories about space, some maybe future, future life, how our life will be in the future,
or might be in the future.
Yes, and also, yeah, why not to read the stories about robots?
Yeah, I also enjoy science fiction. I can't say that I read a lot of science fiction, but still, maybe that's why I wanted to read it. In the first place, I'm a big fan of robots. I have watched a lot of different movies and cartoons about robots, like for example, I, Robot with Will Smith and Wall-E and like that. So have you watched I, Robot with Will Smith?
Yes, I have, but I watched it several years ago, so I do not remember the plot in details, but still I liked this movie, I remember it, and yeah, I think it's a good movie.
I also think it's a good movie. I suggest that when we finish reading the book till the end, shall we rewatch the film and also kind of like discuss it a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
So let's talk a little bit about the author and the book on the whole. So Isaac Asimov, what I liked about his personality is that he was a professor at Boston University, and in fact he wrote more non-science fiction or non-fiction books than science fiction. But still, so it says that he wrote or edited more than 500 books during his life, which I think is I don't know, very great amount. So I also have the exact same book as Olga has, but I have bought it like recently. I think I bought it maybe less than a month ago. Yes. So, but still we have exactly the same books, exactly the same information and stories. What is interesting about this book is that it's not the one story. There are several stories, in fact 9 stories with the introduction. And Today we're going to discuss and talk about the three first stories. And the funny fact about these three first stories is that they all start with the same letter R. Robbie, Runaround, and Reason. Yeah. So what else interesting can we talk about the author?
Well, I know that he is an American writer who was born in Russia, so in Smolensk Oblast, and he moved to the United States with his parents at the age of 3.
Yeah.
And the funny fact that he has never been taught Russian because his parents spoke English, and they used English as a secret language.
Yeah, that's a funny fact. I also remembered reading about it, and I found this. He was one of the big three science fiction writers, along with Robert Heinlein and Arthur Clarke. So Robert Heinlein is famous for The Door into Summer, and Clarke is famous for A Space Odyssey, 2001, A Space Odyssey. So I have never read anything by this authors, but I have watched a movie, A Door into Summer. In fact, it was a Japanese movie. That's why I was interested in it, because lately I've been interested in different Asian movies and music. That's why I've watched the movie and I liked the movie, and that's it. I haven't watched this A Space Odyssey, but I know that it's very popular among people who are interested in science fiction. Anything else?
Yes, I also wanted to mention that his parents owned candy stores, and they sold their magazines and newspapers, and Isaac read them. That's how he got interested in literature and decided to write himself.
Yeah, and he decided to write himself at a very young age. If I'm not mistaken, he wrote his first short story at the age of 8, and he shared this story with his friend, and his friend said, "Oh, the story is so interesting, where can I read the continuation?" And Isaac said, "Nowhere, because it's my story." But at the time he thought that if someone liked his stories, he can continue writing and share with other people. And what's also interesting is that the Oxford English Dictionary credits the science fiction for introducing into the English language, so Isaac's words like robotics, positronic, and psychohistory, which is also kind of a funny and interesting fact. Yeah.
I also have one fact about his life. He was a prominent member of the Baker Street Irregulars. This is the leading Sherlock Holmes society, and is the oldest society devoted to the study of the greatest detectives of all times. This is a really nice fact for me, because I love stories about Sherlock Holmes, and I just admire this fact in his biography.
Yes, I agree. It's a very interesting fact. So shall we start talking about the stories?
Yeah.
So the introduction, in fact, is not a very meaningful part, but it kind of like combines all the stories together, because we are introduced with what's her name?
Susan Calvin.
Yes, Susan Calvin, who is one of the heads at the US Robots Corporation, and a person comes to interview her, and he wants to find out some interesting details about the time when all of this started. I mean, with the robots, with the corporation, and all of that. So, and let's start with the story. Robbie?
Yeah.
Shall you read the summary for us? So just in case you didn't read the story yet, we're going to tell you what it's about.
So originally this story was printed as Strange Playfellow, but then Isaac changed its name. I don't know why, but I just found this fact.
I didn't know this fact. It's nice.
So the story is about 1998, and Robbie is a simple non-vocal robot. He is a nursemaid for a little girl, 8 years old. Her name is Gloria. Gloria and Robbie play different games. They like playing hide and seek, and Robbie takes care of Gloria. Gloria likes telling stories to Robbie, and these stories include Cinderella. This is his favorite story, and he seems to be interested in these stories. Her mom, Mrs. Weston, she wants to get rid of Robbie because she thinks that the robot might be dangerous, might hurt her daughter. But her father, George Weston, thinks that Robbie is safer than any other human, just because of the first law of robotics, which states a robot might not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm.
Yeah.
Grace Weston, Gloria's mom, compels her husband to get rid of the robot, and when Gloria is out watching the VisiVox show, her parents take Robbie away and say that he has gone and no one knows where he is now. Gloria is devastated, she cries a lot, and the Westons try to distract Gloria from her grief and get her a dog, take her to New York City, but nothing works. Grace still doesn't want to get Robbie back, and George has an idea to make Gloria realize that robots are just machines. That's why the family goes to the robot factory, and there Gloria sees Robbie and runs towards him. A tractor in the factory almost crushes her, but luckily Robbie saves her life, and he acts faster than any human.
Of course.
Yeah, that's why Grace gives in and Gloria gets Robbie back.
Yeah. Okay. So, can you tell us your general impression of this story?
Well, I like this story, and I think this is my favorite one out of 3 stories that I read. I like it because for me, literature is all about the emotions, and when I feel something, when I care about the characters, I like the stories, the books. That's why, yes, so I like the story a lot because I totally can understand Gloria's feelings and her mom's feelings. Like Gloria lost her friend. This was a friend to her, not just a robot, not just a machine, an old nasty machine, like her mom said.
Yeah.
But her mom, I also can understand her because she is worried what can happen, because robots maybe they are quite new for the world, and no one knows exactly what to expect from them, and here comes some prejudice and some ideas that probably they can be harmful in some way. And I also can relate to her dad's feelings, like he tries to use science and logic and says that, come on, everything is okay, remember the first rule of robotics, everything will be fine. Yeah, that's why I like the story a lot, and it has a happy ending. Well, at least yes,
to some degree
for this part.
Yeah. In fact, I also liked the story kind of a lot. I also want to mention this one fact about Isaac, is that before his stories, most authors who wrote stories about robots, stories were like that the robots are going to destroy the humanity and they are not friendly to people at all. But in these stories, Isaac wants to introduce new paradigm, so to say. He wants to show that robots can be friends with people, and this story is exactly about it, that Gloria is a friend with Robbie, and that this friendship is precious to both of them, in fact, at least it seems like, even for the robot. And I also like books more when I feel intense emotions. That's why I can connect to the characters, and I agree that I can understand all of the characters and why they behave this way, though of course I'm not a big fan of Gloria's mom and how she behaves, but still it's kind of okay, at least okay. I feel very much sorry, and I can understand Gloria's feelings when she is deprived of the robot with the most stupid explanation that he ran away. How can he? I understand that her mother is afraid that the robot might like get broken or something like that, and after that he can hurt her daughter, or also that Gloria spends all of her free time only with this robot and she doesn't have human friends. I understand why her mother is worried, but still her methods of solving the problem are kind of like not okay for me, at least.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, but still I can understand her feelings.
So, shall we discuss a little bit of vocabulary from the story?
Let's do it. So I wrote down only some phrases and idioms because there were a lot of words that I didn't know, but they are all connected to science, space exploration, and maybe even some chemistry. So I do not think that we can use these words in our daily life.
Yeah.
That's why I chose some phrases and idioms.
Yeah.
So the first one is to play someone's trump card.
Yeah, I remember this
I
phrase
want
too.
to read the passage from the story. Hard-hearted, Robbie paid scant attention to his dreadful possibility and shook his head a third time. Gloria found it necessary to play her trump card. So to play her trump card, to play someone's trump card, means to do something unexpected which gives you a definite advantage over other people.
That's a nice phrase. I also remember it. I also paid attention to it. But my first expression that I would like to tell is to splutter into a shrill wail. And the extract is, but Gloria's eyelids had overflown. I don't want the nasty dog. I want Robbie. I want you to find me, Robbie. Her feelings became too deep for words and she spluttered into a shrill wail. Yeah, so I think the meaning of this phrase can be quite easily understood from the context, that it means to start crying heavily and to yell and all of that emotional stuff, but still I paid attention to this phrase.
Yes, I also have this phrase. I think it sounds sophisticated.
Yeah, I agree.
So the next phrase that I have is pine away for. And I will read the text. It is really the silliest situation I have ever heard of. Imagine a child pining away for the loss of a robot.
Yeah.
So again, it can be easily understood from the context. So pine away for means to become sick and weak because you miss somebody or something very much.
The phrase just on its own, if you tell someone to pine away for something, I think it's not easy to understand. That's why.
But from context.
From the context, yes, but still the phrase is very nice. I also like it, and I wanted to read it as my second phrase too, but I will move to my third phrase, or just it's a very short one, to perk up, which means to lighten up when something happens that your mood is improved. And the extract is, well, we have to. I say we're leaving now, or as soon as we can make the arrangements. In the city, Gloria will find the sufficient interests and sufficient friends to perk her up and make her forget that machine. I also like these phrases like sufficient interest and sufficient friends. It sounds, I don't know, a little bit arrogant or something like that.
Yeah, sufficient for her mom, obviously,
yeah,
not
obviously.
for Gloria.
definitely.
The next phrase I have, it is an easy phrase, but I think again it is a very sophisticated and a nice one.
Yeah.
In fact, when the month had nearly sped, the Westerns were convinced that everything conceivable had been done to take Gloria's mind once and for all of the departed Robbie. It means completely and finally. So to forget him completely and finally.
Yeah, I also like this phrase. I agree that it sounds sophisticated or bookish, so to say, but still I think we can sometimes use it in everyday life just to sound not as everyday life. Okay, so I think that's all for the first story.
Yeah.
Let's move to the second one. The second one is called Runaround, and I am going to share the summary with you. In 2015, Powell and Donovan and robot SPD-13 are sent to Mercury to restart operations at an abandoned mining station. They discover a shortage of selenium, which is needed for life support. They send Speedy, which they call the robot Speedy, a robot that can withstand high temperatures, to retrieve selenium from a pool. Speedy does not return and is found running in circles around the pool, showing signs of malfunction. It is discovered that Speedy's conflicting programming between following orders and self-preservation is causing his strange behavior. Attempts to fix him fail until Powell risks his life activating the first law of robotics, which forces Speedy to save him. The team is then able to repair the photocell banks. Yeah, so this is the story, and in fact I found it a little bit even more emotional than Robbie, because yes, because their lives were at stakes. Because if Speedy didn't come back, they were going to die in a couple of days, so to say. And the moment where one of them decided to risk his life was also very emotional for me, and I enjoyed the story. For me, okay, so both of them, like Robbie and Runaround, are very emotional, but still, to some degree, Runaround is more emotional, so to say. What about you?
That is surprising, because I can't say that I didn't like the story. I liked it, but for me it was just a story. So like, it is interesting from a scientific point of view, because Isaac Asimov wrote his laws of robotics here and explained what he meant by this. But really, I understand that their lives was at stake. Yes, it's true, but for me, it's just a story, really, because I didn't feel any strong emotions for any of these characters. Yes, just scientific interest, so to say.
Okay, I don't know why. I also felt connection and I felt sorry for the robot. Again, because I love robots a lot, and when you see that the robot has these laws that he has to follow, and there is a problem, he doesn't know which one is more important, and one of the laws are like changing from time to time. So at time he has to follow the orders that he had from the masters, from the people, and at another time he has to protect his life, so to say. That's why I was worried for the robot, and I liked how in the end of the story he was like afraid approaching that guy who risked his life, and it just shows that they have some kind of feelings. So that's why I enjoyed the story. I liked the robot, and in fact, yes, this is the first story where all of the three laws of robotics appear, and now we know that the first law is to protect humans' life at any stakes. The second law is to follow any orders from the humans. And the third law is to protect your own life, so to say, robot's life. And they are going like just exactly in the order of importance. So if the second order is to kill someone, for example, yes, the robot can't do it because the first law is not to harm people. Yeah, and I think they are simple but very great. I mean, these days when artificial intelligence is developing very fast, I think our scientists don't really have to do anything just to get the laws and implement them.
Yes, they are
That's
very
it.
universal and they were used a lot since they were published. That's why it's impressive.
Yeah, I agree. So anything else to add, or shall we talk about the vocabulary?
I think we can start talking about vocabulary.
Yeah, so again, I have the extract where I came across 4 expressions and words that were kind of like interesting or unfamiliar for me. So the first one is devil of a situation, up to the eyebrows, jinx, and draw it strong. So devil of a situation is like when the situation is very difficult. Up to the eyebrows is like very deeply into the situation. Jinx is something. How to explain what is a jinx?
It's something cursed,
Yes,
I think.
yes.
Because I know this word from Harry
From
Potter.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yes, jinx is something cursed, and draw it strong is to talk and about something minor in a very like important way, so to say, or to make something more important than it is, and something like that. So I'm going to read the extract. This was a devil of a situation. Here they were on Mercury, exactly 12 hours, and already up to the eyebrows in the worst sort of trouble. Mercury had long been the jinx world of the system, but this was drawing it rather strong, even for a jinx. So yeah, I liked that this short extract had like 4 phrases and words. So that's why I chose it. What about yours?
I also like these phrases, like devil of a situation and draw it strong. I also somewhere wrote it down, but not in my notebook.
Okay.
So, and in my notebook I have the phrase to be shot to hell. I'm going to read them.
Okay.
The photocell banks that alone stood between the full power of Mercury's monstrous sun and themselves were shot to hell. So as far as I've understood, to be shot to hell means to be in poor condition, ruined or worn out.
Okay, yeah, nice. The next one is not a phrase but a word, a nitwit. A nitwit which is like a jerk. And the phrase is, because I want Speedy back, nitwit, I want to find out what's wrong with him. I just have never heard this word, and if I'm not mistaken, the next story is going to have this word too, but I'm not sure.
Yes, it has.
So
Definitely has.
that's why I decided to kind of like write it out, and I like the word. So yeah.
Okay, so my next phrase is to be in a fine fix.
I have it too.
So the story, Powell signed. Well, it can't be helped now, but we are in a fine fix. So here I have some doubts because I looked it up, but it wasn't exactly the same phrase. So as far as I've understood, it is something like to be in a difficult or embarrassing situation.
It is. I found the same.
But the fact that I found not the exact phrase, not to be in a fine fix, but just to be in a fix. To be in a fix means to be in a difficult or embarrassing situation.
I think I found exact.
Maybe it is absolutely the same, but I know that English is a tricky language, and sometimes when you add just one word, the meaning can be absolutely different. That's why I just tell you that.
So guys,
I'm not 100% sure in it.
Guys, if someone knows the exact phrase to be in a fine fix, and if you are sure what is the meaning, please comment in the comment section. We are going to be very thankful. Let's learn together some new things. So in fact, I kind of like wrote out a lot of different words that I liked, but let me choose this one, out of kilter, which in this case is like not working, but also out of kilter can be can mean also like in disorder or in like set feelings or something like that. So the abstract is, and that, by the way, is what makes him drunk. At potential equilibrium, half the positronic paths of his brain are out of kilter. Yeah, so just I have never heard this kind of phrase that it's like not working, so out of kilter. Have you heard, guys, this phrase? Any phrases more from the story?
No, I have just two of them. Here.
Okay, so we're going to end with the story and move to the third one. Okay, so let's move to the third story. Olga, will you read the summary for us?
I will, but it will be a bit difficult for me because this story has a lot of scientific details and I tried to make it short and meaningful, but I'm not sure that I succeeded in it. So
I'm sure you did.
I will just read it.
I believe in your abilities. Come on.
Half a year later, after the second story, Powell and Donovan are at the space station. Robot QT1, or just QT, doesn't believe that the humans can build robots and doesn't believe that he was created by humans. Powell shows QT the planets and explains that the beams supply energy to them. And humans create robots to control those beams, and QT is a more advanced model built to help direct the robots, so the humans no longer have to go to the space stations. QT says that this explanation lacks reasons because humans are inefficient and flawed beings. QT says that the master had created humans and then robots and the robots, humans and then robots, and the robots obeyed the master, not humans. Powell and Donovan create another robot to prove to QT that they built him too, and QT says that they hadn't created the robot, but they only had put together its parts.
Yeah, assembled.
Yeah. The next day, the electron storm that can destroy Earth arrives, and QT holds the beam completely in focus on the receiving station on Earth. Powell finally understands that in accordance with the first law, QT didn't want to harm any humans on Earth, and that's why he tried to control it and did his best. So he saved the planet, and that's it.
Yes, and that's it.
Then Powell and Donovan pack up to live on a relief ship, and another person from the ship tells them that the US robots is creating a multiple robot, and the model is waiting for Donovan and Powell to test it.
Okay, so in fact, this story, yeah, that was difficult. And in fact, this story was difficult to read, to understand, because there were a lot of ideas, and the description of these storms and all of those things, and also a lot of religious allusions here are present, which is kind of like a tricky thing to discuss, but still. I mentioned that I have a thing about the story. So QT reminds me of one character that we both know.
I don't know who
really?
You're talking about.
What if I tell you that this character is from Harry Potter?
Well, I thought about it, but I still do not have any guesses.
I think that some of the phrases QT say can be easily said by Dolores Umbridge.
Okay, yes, I thought about her, but I I don't think that.
This robot is not as extreme, of course, as Dolores Umbridge, but still, when I read some of the phrases that Cutie says, I thought about it in her voice. And I was like, oh my god, Dolores can easily like nail it. Easily. That's why, yeah.
Okay, maybe, but I didn't have these associations with her. So, what do you think about the story? Do you like it? How do you feel?
Okay, what I feel about the story. As I mentioned, it was the most difficult for me, but still, of course, I felt connected to Powell and Donovan, and I felt a little bit scared at some points, because here the robot is not very friendly, to say the least. In fact, the robot is kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. So he doesn't try to harm them, but he doesn't follow what? The instructions. Yes, the commands, the instructions, and in fact, some of the things he says, that people are more fragile beings, and they cannot confront the robots, and if the robot is not following your commands, what can you do in this situation? And how can you convince the robot that there are millions and billions of people on Earth when he sees only two of you? So, of course, the robot is a very logic creature thing. And if he saw only two people in his life, how can he believe that there are thousands, millions, and billions of people on some other planet? And how can he believe that this planet exists? So I kind of see where it all comes from, but it's a frightening thing.
Yeah.
If I thought, if I was in their place, what would I do? How would I try to convince them? But I'm a person who is not who doesn't have any real knowledge in scientific stuff, scientific field, and it's going to be very difficult for me to convince someone or something that thinks only on logic, like based on the facts. Yeah.
Okay, so for me this story wasn't very emotional again, but I really liked this story just because for me it's quite a thought-provoking story, because I thought about the relationship between human and robots, the possibility of robots so that they can do something like to take over the planet, the human beings, and so on. And also I loved this allusion to religion, just because it is very, I don't know how to explain it, what word should I use? It's very curious to suppose that robots can have religion, and of course their master is not like the god for us, or it's not a person, but it is some kind of electronic conveyor, something like that.
Yeah.
I do not remember the exact title. I had it somewhere, but I can't find it.
Energy source.
Yes, energy source.
Energy source.
Yes, and it's just funny that they can believe in something like the higher, not robot, but the higher force, the higher source. And for me, it's mind-blowing, I would say.
I completely agree. When I read, I was like, what? A religious robot?
Yeah.
Really? A prophet? A prophet. Daily prophet, guys. I always like, when I thought about Dolores Umbridge, and then this word comes across also from Harry Potter, which I like familiar with mostly because of Harry Potter. I was also like Harry Potter all over the story. It was very strange for me because first, when you think about robots, is that the laws, the instructions are inside him and he should follow it. And in this case, this robot like develops something without instructions or even like not following the instructions. It's very strange and frightening at the same time, for me at least. That's why, yeah.
Yes, and I also wanted to mention that apart from religion, I liked some references in this story and in the previous story, like references on humanities, culture, and history. Because this robot, I like the reference to, so in this particular story, I like the reference to Descartes, which is the phrase, I myself exist because I think. So
I remember it.
Cogito ergo sum, I think therefore I am. So it's just a funny fact that apart from religion, they also know history and culture of people, and the previous story where Speedy was like also citing some popular culture. Yes, it was a comic comic opera, I think.
Yeah,
yes.
Something like that. I also was like surprised in a pleasant way, so to say.
Yeah.
But
And by the way, the funny fact is that Powell immediately recognized this reference, but Donovan says, "Who's Descartes?" Descartes is like, what? He doesn't know, but the robot knows it.
I think even if you don't know who created this phrase, still you know the phrase itself, because I think everyone knows. I think, therefore I exist.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Maybe if I was asked who is the author of this thing, maybe I wouldn't be able to remember, to recollect. But I know this phrase for sure. So anything else to add about the story, or shall we move to the vocabulary?
Let's discuss vocabulary.
Okay, so vocabulary.
Well, for me, there were not many phrases here, like expressions. Of course, there were a lot of words, hundreds of words.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I didn't write them down. But yes, I have some phrases, and well, actually, I have two phrases.
Okay.
And I knew both of them because we studied it in my English group.
Nice.
Yeah, and the first one is to be barred from. It means to prohibit someone from a certain place or thing, or a thing.
It's close to the end, yes?
Well, I think it's the middle of
from
the story.
From the control room, yes?
Yes. So
go on.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Donovan, said the robot, but you can no longer stay here after this. Henceforth, Powell and you are barred from the control room and the engine room.
Yeah. I remember this phrase exactly. So my phrase includes two words. The first one is implausible, which is like difficult to imagine. And the second one is a verb, to outline, to like tell about something in not in deep details. So the phrase, the extract is, "Do you expect me," said Cutie slowly, "to believe any such complicated, implausible hypothesis as you have just outlined? What do you take me for?" I don't know, I heard this phrase in Dolores Umbridge's voice. Yeah. So what's
That's
next?
Funny. So the next phrase, again from Outcomes Advanced, face the music.
Face the music?
Face the music,
Okay.
yes. Don't be a fool, you'd find out whether Earth exists when relief gets here next week, and we have to go back to face the music. So face the music means to accept responsibility for something you have done, or to accept punishment or criticism for something bad that you have done.
Nice. Okay, so next one for me. Of course, here we come across a lot of words when I don't know who, Powell or Donovan, is like cursing the robot all the time.
Donovan?
Donovan?
I think, yes, because Powell wants to find the reasons. So
yes, Donovan.
according to the title.
So Donovan calls cutie, many different words, like for example, a junkyard.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing, and also I like. So, do you know the word cranium?
No.
It's just a skull. And he says, then with sudden rage, listen, if that metal mess gives me any lip like that, I'll knock that chromium cranium right off its torso. And also, of course, the second phrase here is to give somebody a lip. So to give somebody a lip means to speak to someone rudely or without respect. But what a funny thing is that to give someone a fat lip is to break someone's lip, like in a fight, for example. Yeah, so cranium, a skull. I was like, what? It's funny how he calls him different things. Anything else?
No.
Nothing else. Maybe I am going to share something else because I kind of like wrote out a lot. So, the next phrase I would like to share also has two things. One is word deprecatory, which is like trying to make someone be good with you. Yeah. And the second is the phrase accept something on authority, just to believe something without any facts.
Any proofs?
Yes, any proofs. So the robot spread his strong hands in a deprecatory gesture. I accept nothing on authority. A hypothesis must be backed by reason, or else it is worthless, and it goes against all the dictates of logic to suppose that you made me. And again, I heard this in Dolores Umbridge's voice, like, I accept nothing on authority, and a hypothesis must be backed by reason, and all of that stuff. Yeah, so, and one more phrase, to knuckle under, just to obey, to follow rules, and all that stuff. Mike Donovan sunk deep in his chair, slammed at its arms savagely. What did you expect me to do with that electrified scarecrow? I'm not going to knuckle under to any do-jigger I put together myself. And in fact, this is a very strong emotion that you kind of like assembled the robot. Of course, you are not the creator, but still you assembled the robot. You know that it has to follow your commands, and it doesn't. And this robot tells you what to do. It's kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, and one more thing I like about this story, so when you were reading, I just thought about it, that it's cool that we have two different approaches. Like the first person tries to understand, tries to find reasons, so why it happened like that and what can they do with this situation, how can they cope with it. But the other one just gets angry and doesn't have any ideas and doesn't want to do anything about that. Maybe he wants, but he just he doesn't try to do it.
He doesn't know how to, I think.
Yes,
so.
I know, but yes, and he gets angry because of that, while the second person tries to do something. So it's just, it's so true to life. I do not say that it's a bad thing. Of course, we can get angry if we don't know what to do, but it's just so true to life that I'm glad that there are two ways, two types of people here. So it's cool.
So yes, I completely agree with you that it's true to life, because in fact there are these types of people we come across who, for example, in a stressful situation, try to keep calm and find the solution. And the second type is when they are just getting annoyed, getting angry, getting scared, and it's difficult to find the solution if you're angry and scared. Only if you try to keep calm, it's easier to find the solution. That's why, guys, we recommend you to keep calm. Okay, so I think that's it for today with the 3 stories. So as we mentioned in the stories, in this book, there are 6 more stories. Yeah, so the next episode we're going to discuss the 3 next, and the episode after that we're going to discuss the rest of the 3 stories. So please, if you want to join us in reading the stories, we're going to be very happy. And in our Telegram chat, we're going to post some additional information, maybe our phrases that we liked from the stories. Please join us there if you want to discuss it with us almost directly, guys. And if you want to share your ideas about the stories, you are also very welcome. That's why thanks for joining. We will see you next episode, and live long
and love robots.
Yay! Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.